Ms. Adler.
I think back on all the things I've done and all the babies that I've helped deliver, and one of the things that really got to me when I worked in the hospital, especially in the level 2 in the NICU, we patch them up and we send them home, and we said good luck. And we always wonder, what happened in this house? How is these babies going to be? What's going on in the house? Can the mother really afford to take care of them? And that's where everybody in here comes in. Because, you know, I say it all the time, it takes a village. Well, it does take a total village. As the nurse in the hospital who fixed up these very sick little ones, sent them home, we didn't know how they turned out. But I'm going to tell a story that I told recently, and I just at a conference we were at. My first baby that I ever really sick baby was a 25-week gestation baby back in 1973. Now, I don't think any of you remember, but in 73, we were not saving these 25-week babies. They were just like, okay, put them there, and when they're dead, call the doctor. That's the way it was. Because we didn't save them, because we didn't have the equipment. Well, we got a new respirator, a positive pressure respirator, and this baby was saved. And I was the primary nurse. And I always wondered, years go by, I always wondered how this little Scotty turned out. Well, one of my very first clients here at People Incorporated, EIPP, he was the father of the baby. I did the intake, and I remember his name, I remember his date of birth, because I just graduated from school, I was a new nurse, and when they told me his name, I said, what's the dad's name? Scott so-and-so. When was he born? Because I knew Scott was from Fall River. And she said, July 1973. I said, oh my God, was he a preemie? She says, yeah. He was only 1.5 pounds. I said, oh my gosh. I said, that was about 33 years later, I see this guy who's married, having a baby, holding a job, and he's working in the community. And since then, I'm on his third baby right now, taking care of his third one. But, you know, it's just rewarding to know that one life was saved, and I was part of it. And now 3 children are here because I was part of that one life. And we could say, all of us, that these little things that we do, you never know how they trickle down. And I'd just like to thank everybody in here also for doing their job, because I couldn't do my job without, you know, calling an EI worker saying, you know, what do you think about this? Or calling WIC and saying, you know, I have a family who's having trouble getting their special formula. Or calling Health First and saying, I have somebody with no insurance and they really, you know, the father has no insurance and how can they get this? And, you know, all of you help me do my job because you're the ones I'm on the phone begging for help. And that's all I have to say.
At this time, I'm going to call our presenter, Marilyn Edge. And I'm going to turn the mic over to her, so she's going to run the show for the next couple of hours.
I don't know if I can do that. Okay. Hello, everybody. Anybody who's seen me do a presentation before knows that I don't like this. I don't like this. I usually walk around, hand things out to people, talk about what I'm doing, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do that, but we'll see how it goes. My name is Marilyn Edge, for those of you who don't know me. I am the director of a 13 community collaborative for tobacco control through the Department of Public Health, and we're a grant-funded program that was supposed to last 2 years back in 2004. I'm still here. Thank God. When we started in Fall River had previous tobacco control and lost their funding in 2001. And at that time, the collaborative was just Fall River and Westport. When we got our funding back in 2004 under the direction of Mike Coughlin, who was the health director then in Fall River, we expanded the program to include Somerset at their request. So when I started in 2004, I was working under Mayor Lambert, and I was the after-school coordinator for the after-school programs in the middle schools. And Targeted Cities money ran out, and Department of Ed wasn't funding any more after-school programs. So Mayor Lambert said to me, "So what are we going to do?" And I said, "Well, you can lay me off. I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with that." And he was like, "No, no." So they got right after that, the grant funding came in for tobacco. And he said to me, "Why don't you apply for the tobacco position?" I was like, I have no idea what any of that is about. I don't know even what the job description is. And it was the last day of the advertising for the job description. So I went with Mike Coughlin up to Human Services and talked to the Human Service Director, filled out the application. I interviewed like everyone else. And they called me and said, I interviewed actually with Judith Kirkendall. She was one of the interviewers. And they said, "We're going to let you try this." And I was like, "Oh, all right, now what?" Because I don't know anything about DPH. I don't have any background in public health. So I ended up going to some training seminars at DPH, and I can remember sitting in the room at a statewide meeting up at Tower Hill Botanical Gardens, because DPH thinks Worcester and Boylston are central to Massachusetts. And they may be if you work in Western Mass, but every time we have to go to a meeting, it's like an hour and a half drive. So I was sitting in the room, and I said to the person sitting next to me, "I don't know anybody in this room except for Judith, and I had only met her once. And this is like a new experience for me, very new learning curve." And last week, we were sitting at a statewide meeting, and now I've been here 10 years. And I said to the person sitting next to me, "I don't know half these people in this room because they're all new. They're all young. They're all new. Thank God there's more of us coming as people retire. But it's a cycle, and I'm sure with your jobs it is too." So when I started doing presentations and I do educational presentations to PTO groups and to faculty and staff at middle and high schools in the 13 communities that I work in, I can remember starting doing seminars, doing presentations like this that were, this is the difference between cigarettes and blunt cigars and blunt wraps, and this is what they're used for. And that has evolved through into doing in-service training for the police departments on synthetic drugs and drug paraphernalia. And now the big thing is e-cigarettes and liquid nicotine. And there's a new synthetic drug out that everybody's in an uproar about called Cloud9, which is a liquid. So when Linda asked me if I would do this presentation today, I said to her, "Well, what do you want me to do?" And she said, "Bring your bag of tricks." And I said, "Okay, but you know, I don't know how long you want me to speak. I don't know if you want me to talk about e-cigarettes, you want me to talk about synthetics, you want me to talk about drug paraphernalia." And she said, "Yeah." So I brought it all with me. And I know there are many of you in this room who have seen all of my presentations on drug paraphernalia and what it is and what it's used for. And we've been very successful in Fall River, and then in all of the other communities that I work in, except for Taunton, in eliminating drug paraphernalia from the streets, from the convenience stores. And the reason for that is that I've had support from all of my police chiefs. I work very closely with the police departments. So I have some of that stuff if you want to see it. There's a lot of you may not have seen it, only because we started getting rid of it in the stores in Fall River in 2007, and it made a slight comeback when we lost 52 police officers in a layoff several years ago. But Chief Racine got right back on top of it, and in his whole focus, as was mine, was you can't get a handle on your drug problem unless your drug addicts can't get what they need by going to the local corner store. And people who didn't agree with us said, well, they can just go to Tiverton, they can go to Somerset, they can go to Westport, until all of those communities jumped on board, and they can't get that stuff there either. My comment to them was always, I don't care where they get it as long as they can't get it here. I don't care how far they have to go to get it. If they can't get it here, that's a plus for us. If your kids can't walk to the corner store to get snacks for school in the morning and not have to look at crack pipes and bombs and grinders and scales and things that you might think are just novelty items, like love roses, that was a big deal a few years ago, little glass vials with little silk roses in them that are actually crack pipes. I love that reaction. I have to tell you, there's always somebody who looks at me like, oh my God, what are you talking about? So I have a lot of things with me. And I mean, I can pretty much talk about anything you're interested in. So if you want to look at some crack pipes and some synthetics, that, I mean,